welcome back to this week's topic. It's a deep one. We're going to get into belief systems. We're going to talk about and learn how to shift old limiting patterns and beliefs so that we can free ourselves up from our past conditioning and habits to live a life of optimal health. Like I said, there's a lot here this week, so pay attention. As humans, we have a need to not only understand life's big questions, but also the day-to-day setbacks. The better we can understand and explain negative events such as relationship breakups, business failures, or medical problems, the faster we'll recover from them. Humans don't like uncertainty, so we interpret these challenging events or make meaning in attempts to understand them. According to constructive development theorist Robert Kegan, we can change our beliefs to achieve better results. With practice, our ability to interpret or make meaning out of events can evolve in stages of increasingly greater complexity throughout our lives. Positive psychologist Martin Seligman refers to the way in which we make meaning our explanatory style. And his research has shown that we can shift from an explanatory style of helplessness to one of optimism. In this section, we're going to uncover your unconscious limiting beliefs that might possibly be holding you back from living a healthy lifestyle, and we're going to learn techniques to consciously choose new and empowering beliefs that improve your ability to experience a life of optimal health. First, a simple definition of a belief is a conclusion derived from information or experience. It's a statement, assertion, or theory you accept as true. A good example of a belief based on information is being on a jury. You get information from two attorneys who provide evidence or tell a story to build a case. Based on the information, you draw a conclusion or form a belief about what's true. In contrast, a belief based on experience is, say, touching a hot iron. If you've experienced being burned by a hot iron, you would draw the conclusion that irons are hot and don't touch them again. As you've continued to accumulate information and experiences through the years, you've developed your own personal belief systems. These have been influenced by experiences of emotionally significant events with your family, friends, romances, schoolmates, teachers, work colleagues, and even interactions with strangers. Most of our beliefs are held in our subconscious or unconscious mind, out of our direct awareness. An analogy to explain the relationship between the conscious and unconscious mind is that of a rider perched atop an elephant. The rider is analogous to the conscious, logical, rational, more recently evolved mind, while the elephant represents the subconscious, more feeling, emotional mind. The rider is the part of the mind that plans, makes preparations, solves new problems, and sets goals. The elephant is the part of the mind that is responsible for motivation, habitual beliefs, running routines, and emotional fears. The subconscious mind is the one that is really actually in control. It's been said that the conscious mind processes 2,000 bits of information per second, while the unconscious mind processes about 4 billion. No wonder making change is difficult. The rider can keep barking orders, but until he retrains the elephant, they're going to get nowhere. Now let's take a look at how our beliefs make up what we consider reality. A well-practiced meditator can have an experience of what we call objective reality, which means they're able to see things as they are, empty and without any judgments or inherent meaning, no interpretations, just the facts, man. But this is not the world that most of us live in. We live in a world of story. Our reality is built on interpretations, evaluations, and is constructed by our personal beliefs, expectations, and desires. There's a quote that says, "You don't see things as they are. You see things as you are." We project and insert meaning into every experience and create a colorful, what's called subjective reality. To keep a coherent picture of reality, the mind starts to become conditioned by about age 5 to 7. This means that beliefs start to solidify, making it more difficult to take on new healthy behavior changes. The cycle here shows how new experiences and information is filtered through old beliefs to generate our thoughts and actions, which in turn reinforce our old habits. And mind you, our conditioning makes it a challenge to change, but by no means impossible. When you are getting the results that you want in life, your conditioning is serving you and your beliefs are constructive and empowering. But when your beliefs are holding you back from living the life you want, they're destructive, and we call these beliefs limiting beliefs. Here's an example. Let's say you want to have the experience of eating better, losing weight, and living in vibrant, optimal health. But at the same time, you have a subconscious story that says, if I show up as vibrant and successful, I'll make my friends and family feel guilty and they're not going to like me anymore. In this story lies a limiting belief that may say something like this: to be liked, you need to fit in. Being successful is arrogant and unacceptable to others. Or just a belief that says don't rock the boat. Even if there is a powerful intention to lose weight and feel good, as long as these limiting beliefs are there, they'll create sabotaging, critical thoughts, which will stop you from taking the appropriate actions and will keep you stuck having the same old experience of being overweight. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right." We see the truth in this statement, as well as how limiting beliefs are created, in the studies on learned helplessness, where dogs are taught to think they can't and then prove themselves right. Martin Seligman studied 2 dogs that were put in separate cages, where one could learn to press a lever to stop a shock. The second dog didn't have the lever and received random shocks that it couldn't control. The second dog learned that he is helpless in the face of shocks. Then, in a following experiment, both dogs are taught a new skill of how to avoid shocks, and both put in cages where they had equal opportunity to stop the shock. The first dog, who was empowered by the confidence of being able to avoid shocks the first time, was able to again avoid the shocks. Although they both had the means to control the shock, the second dog, who had not been able to control them in the first time, gave up and suffered the shocks without even trying to avoid them. It learned to be helpless, even though it had control. This is the same process a person goes through after failing to reach their goals, or being told they're not good at something. They learn to believe they're helpless. A perfect example is the helplessness that can be ingrained into someone after a lifetime of yo-yo dieting. A few rounds of weight loss followed by out-of-control weight gain quickly turns to an ambivalent, limiting belief of weight loss is impossible. Why bother? According to Martin Seligman, just as we learn to believe that we're helpless, we can also condition ourselves to believe there's hope. He calls this learned optimism, and there's a clear benefit to the bright perspective. According to Tully Sherratt, author of Optimism Bias, hope keeps our mind at ease, lowers stress, and improves physical health. Researchers studying heart disease patients found that optimists were more likely than non-optimistic patients to take their vitamins, eat a low-fat diet, and exercise, thereby reducing their overall coronary risk. A study of cancer patients revealed that pessimistic patients under the age of 60 were more likely to die within 8 months than non-pessimistic patients of the same initial health status and age. One of the mechanisms of how beliefs might impact our health is explained through the new concept of epigenetics. Research done by Bruce Lipton at the Stanford School of Medicine demonstrates that genes can be turned on and off, not by genes themselves, but through external environmental stimuli and through our beliefs. This is quite contrary to the long-held idea of genetic determinism, which suggests that you're stuck with the genes you've got, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's more detail about this in the workbook section, so check it out. So we're not destined to our limiting beliefs. We can change them, and we can start rewriting our genes and reconditioning our mind. The process starts with not believing your thoughts. Try taking on a skeptical perspective about what's happening between your ears. Self-help guru Byron Katie suggests that when you make a statement like, "I'm just not disciplined enough for exercise," challenge yourself by asking the question, is that really true? If you give it some thought, chances are you can come up with some evidence that it's just not true. When you've realized it's just a limiting belief, you can move to a number of interventions to help make the shift. The first practice is about broadening and shifting your perspective on what's possible. When you talk about perspective from an artistic point of view, it refers to the angle that you're observing an object. If the artist were to move their position relative to the object, their drawing would change completely. And in this case of the picture above, sometimes it's simply a matter of the artist making a subtle shift in their focus to see the same object in a completely different way. For instance, an old woman or a young woman. If you don't see it, press pause and look again. In this metaphor, you are the artist, and whatever challenge you're facing is the object. Depending on the focus and angle you're observing your situation, it will look completely different. Some angles will make the situation feel heavy and hopeless, and some angles will feel light and free. Based on the neurolinguistic programming technique called cognitive reframing, the practice of mindful perspective shifting is the art of seeing your situation from multiple and expanded points of view, and being able to choose the one that offers the best picture. There are examples of this in the workbook section, and you can experience it yourself in the coaching. What you remember as your past is a story that's been generalized, manipulated, and has been distorted through so many filters, you may well be playing the game of telephone. Yet, our past stories make up so much of who we think we are. According to Professor of Psychology Timothy Wilson, story editing is a set of techniques designed to redirect people's narratives about themselves and the social world in a way that leads to lasting change in behavior. In the first section, you were given the assignment to tell your health story to help you process and make sense of challenging events. Now, in this powerful journal exercise called Creating a Positive Past, you'll have the opportunity to recraft your entire story from a new and optimistic perspective. Okay, that wraps it up for now. The topic of belief systems is such a complex and juicy topic that I hope you were able to digest most of it. Maybe you have to listen to it twice. Also, in this week's workbook, there's a lot of expansion on the topics that we went over in this video. There's examples as well as some of the processes that we're going to use in this week's coaching. So make sure that you give that a review this week, even more than some of the weeks in past. So get to your journaling. There's lots of exercise to be done and a lot of beliefs to shift. Enjoy.